Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thanks for tuning in. The theme of this episode is the TrueOffMyChest subreddit, so let's get into it. The title of the first story is I Learned the Real Reason My Ex Left Me. There is a trigger warning on this. It's infertility, abandonment, unaliving attempt, and mental health struggles. Obligatory throwaway account, as people in my life know my usual account. Posting because I really don't know how to feel about this and I just needed to get it off my chest. Sorry for the long post, there's a lot to unpack. Backstory first, so around 2 years ago, my ex-fiance, who I'd been in a relationship with for almost 10 years, unceremoniously just left me. It never fully made sense to me as there were no warning signs. We were actively planning our wedding and finally agreed to try for a baby, as we were both in our 30s and time was ticking. Then one day, he just started acting sort of off, wasn't saying I love you before he left for work for the day, was spending more time out drinking with his friends than he was at home. He'd been struggling with his mental health since COVID lockdowns, so I assumed he was having a bit of a downward spiral. So I sat down with him one day and I just asked him if everything was okay with him. He tried to brush it off initially and kept saying that he was fine, so I changed the question and asked if we were okay. He looked like he really didn't want to answer, so I asked again. He paused, and in that moment, I knew it was over. I asked if he still loved me. He said he loved me, but wasn't in love with me anymore. And that was it. Within a week, he had moved out, leaving 90% of his belongings to be collected at a later date and to serve as a constant reminder that he was just gone. To say it hit me hard was an understatement. I spiraled massively. I was at the lowest point I had ever been in my life, so I tried to end it all. It just hurt too much, feeling like there was something so wrong with me that he had to just leave. Fortunately, a friend managed to get me to a hospital before I did any serious damage to myself, and while I still felt awful about myself most of the time, it got a little bit easier. I ended up dating that friend a few months later. A lot of people say it was too soon to move on, but honestly, I never set out to have another relationship at all. But his constant support, presence, and reassurance that there was nothing wrong with me made me want to spend time with those who truly gave a shit about me. And in time, we developed feelings for each other. We had a beautiful relationship filled with love and laughter, and much to our surprise, I ended up pregnant 9 months into our relationship. We decided to keep the baby even though our relationship was still in its early stages, and 9 months later, our beautiful daughter was born. We are still as strong as ever today and continuing to build an amazing life together as a family. Now on to present day. I guess my ex has been reflecting on the past recently due to a lot of deaths in his family, and his mother, who I'm still close with today, reached out to me to ask whether I'd be willing to meet up with him as he had something to get off of his chest. She didn't know what he wanted to talk to me about, as it was something he could only discuss with me, but she would understand if I said no. I decided to think about it for a few days before I agreed that I would meet up with him at a local coffee shop. I got there early because, mama needs her caffeine fix with these early morning wake-ups and night feeds. I was already sat down when he came in and gave me the saddest looking smile while I merely just nodded to him and motioned for him to sit down and get out whatever he needed to tell me. I was a little bit speechless at what he had to say. He said that when we started trying for a baby and nothing was happening, even though we were closely tracking my ovulation cycle and testing every day for that sweet spot, he realized something wasn't right. So he secretly took the day off work to see a fertility doctor. They found out that due to an undiagnosed issue in one of his testicles, the likelihood of him ever being able to conceive a biological child of his own was incredibly low. He knew that I loved him so deeply that I would have given up my dream of having children just for him, and he said that he couldn't live with that on his conscience, that I deserved to have the life and family I've always wanted, only with someone else. He kept apologizing profusely for hurting me so much in the process, but tried to rationalize that I had got what I wanted in the end, so his plan ultimately worked. I ultimately sat there for a few minutes and just looked at him dead in the eyes and said that that was never his decision to make. He took away my choice and nearly destroyed me in the process, and I got up and left. It's been a few days and I'm still processing. My partner knew I was meeting up with my ex and he knows something is up, but is giving me space until I really feel ready to talk about it. But honestly, I'm shook. Like, did my ex honestly think that I'd be like, okay, thanks for letting me know, and then we'd all be friends again? Edit, I tried to post an update, however, it was removed by the mods. We'll post to my profile if anyone is interested. I do agree with that. I do agree that it's like you should have let her make that decision, and usually that's like what you would do in a relationship is you would talk about it together. And also, I don't know, it sounds like he is trying to make, I feel for him. That must be really, really sad to figure out, of course. But it sounds like he's trying to justify it by making himself seem like a hero, even though in actuality, if he would have just sat down with her and talked about it, maybe they could have come to a conclusion that maybe they would, I don't know, get some sperm from a sperm donor, and she would have been fine with that. Like, there's many other options that they could have looked into other than him just like leaving without a word and ghosting her. Okay, there's relevant comments, and this person says he was having an affair that is now over, and he's reflecting. He used a lie to try to make himself seem like a martyr. Opie said, I did suspect that for quite some time. There was a girl in our friend group he had become oddly close to over the last year of our relationship. She was one of the main people he was going out drinking with when I started realizing something wasn't quite right. So my mind did go there for a while. He ended up moving in with her as housemates after he moved out. She tried coming over to collect the remainder of his things. I was pretty mad and said I didn't consent to her being there, and if she didn't leave my property, I would call the police for her trespassing. I don't believe anything was actually going on there, though, as I heard through the grapevine that she was seeing some drug dealer shortly after my ex moved in with her. Okay, we're going to read the update. First off, thank you all for your lovely comments and messages of support. I was not expecting my post to blow up like it did. So I wasn't really expecting to make an update to my previous post, and definitely not this soon, but boy, does it get interesting. So of course, I plan to leave the situation alone at this point and completely put it behind me. However, my former mother-in-law reached out to me as I hadn't spoken to her in a few days, which is quite unlike me. A few people said in a few comments that I should cut her off as well as the ex, but this woman was like a mother to me for almost 10 years. When I was going through difficulties with my own family, this woman opened up her home to me and gave me a safe place to stay if I needed. She had been more of a parent to me than my own parents and basically adopted me as the daughter that she had always wanted. So when I say we are incredibly close, I genuinely mean it regardless of anything that's happened with her son. We have a really strong relationship outside of that. We typically have a good catch up once a week and message in between. Nothing I say to her gets passed on to her son from what I can gather. The trickles of information he gets is through the grapevine of the group of friends that we mutually share. So when she reached out to see if I was okay yesterday, I decided I'd pop over and catch up with her. Turns out he came clean to her when she asked exactly what had gone on, as she hadn't heard from me in a few days and she was worried. She went absolutely ballistic at him and currently is not speaking to him at all. Then she told me something I did not know and something she assumed that I'd known all along. It turns out that when he was born, he had undescended testicles. He had the surgery to correct it, but there was always going to be the chance that he would have fertility issues in adulthood. He was meant to go for checkups once he passed puberty age to see whether there were any lasting damages, and he claimed to his mother that he had gone to these and everything was fine, but neither of us actually believe this. So the entire time we discussed having children, he knew there was a possibility that all he was shooting was blanks, but neglected to actually let me know this for 10 effing years. Bear in mind, we were probably having unprotected sex for 2 years of our relationship. Not actively trying, but we had agreed that if something happened, we would be happy about it. So I think when we were actively trying to have a baby and nothing was happening, it sort of gave him the mental tip-off that all was not well, and he finally decided to get that checkup he'd been putting off. I'm flabbergasted, guys. In regard to my partner and I's relationship, we are absolutely fine. He's used to my sulky episodes, haha. I did eventually fill him in after a few days of being mildly annoyed, and he agreed that it was super effed up and agreed with a lot of the comments that his timing for telling me all this was absolutely comical. We did suspect for a while that the real reason he decided to leave was cheating initially, because he'd gotten strangely close to one of the girls in our friend group, the majority of which dropped me like hot shit when we split up. Turns out there's nothing going on there. But another little tidbit off my ex's mom that she found out also, guys, he's dating this girl's 60-year-old mother. Good Lord, his life is a dumpster fire. I don't even think I'm mad anymore. I'm just mildly amused. Absolutely done with that.
If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you.
See, that's really sad, especially because when you're struggling with fertility, I can only imagine how hard that is. But a lot of women struggle with that. So for him to know the reason that they're not getting pregnant and not tell her, which can just lead to her thinking that something's wrong with her, and that's usually what happens, is you usually blame yourself. And it's very interesting because I feel like in a lot of cases, it ends up being the male that is actually struggling, that is actually the problem in the relationship. I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have any statistics to back that up, but it's so important for both parties to be equally as invested in this journey and share everything that they possibly can to help with that. Especially when that can be such a mind fuck and such a mentally tough thing to go through, to think that you're struggling with fertility issues when meanwhile this guy basically knows the whole answer that could easily explain why you guys aren't getting pregnant, and you're over here like clawing at your eyes, being so upset and frustrated that you can't get pregnant. That's so selfish to me and so messed up, and I just don't really understand the point in keeping that from her and not telling her that, especially if you were just going to leave her in the end. The top comment says, good thing he was shooting blanks. OP didn't even have to dodge the bullet. On the blind side said, man, this was posted less than an hour ago, and God, you were in there like a shot. Bravo. Silent Ad said, well, my brain broke slightly reading this. Communication could have solved so much. And Vanderseen said, yeah, instead of having an adult discussion, he just leaves, never knowing if she would be okay without having children or not, or if she would be okay adopting. What a way to blow up a relationship. I mean, to me, that just kind of seems like he doesn't love her that much. And it's like, why even use that as an excuse when you can really just say you wanted to break up with her in the first place? Because if you really love someone, you're going to do anything to make it work, and you're going to try to talk to her and figure out if there's a solution or if she is okay with what's happening. Unintelligent Slime responded to that comment and said, y'all are missing the real reason. It's not because of what he said. It's because he had been lying to her for years about what he knew of his own fertility, and now, if he came clean, that lie would have come to light. It's selfish and disgusting, but it's obviously that reason and not a simple issue of communication. Like, there was no way to have the what if we can't have a baby talk without her eventually realizing that he had been lying to her for actual years about his own fertility. Okay, but I mean, I understand what they're saying, but that doesn't excuse his behavior. You could be like, I'm so sorry. And you could still have that conversation with her, because that's the selfless thing to do, to let her know, like, hey, I'm really sorry. I was really scared to tell you this, but I just wanted to let you know. And you can be pissed at me and you can be angry at me and you can leave me. But I want to be a good person and not be a coward and talk to you face to face about this situation so that I can come clean to you about it. And either you can forgive me and you can decide that we can move forward and figure something else out, or you can decide to break up with me because I kept that from you. That's her decision to make, and that was her situation to figure out, but he didn't even leave that up to her to figure out. The title of the next story is, my friend called me a pick-me because her boyfriend was into me. I, 21 female, have a close friend. Let's call her Jess. We've been friends for a couple years, never had any issues, and I've always supported her through everything. She started dating this guy, and at first, everything was fine. I was happy for her, and we all hung out a few times in group settings. Then I started to notice little things. Her boyfriend would always sit next to me, ask me random questions, laugh way too hard at things I said. I got a weird vibe, but I ignored it. I wasn't interested, and I tried not to be rude. But then Jess started acting weird too. She would make little passive-aggressive jokes about how guys always love me or how I must love the attention. The final straw was last weekend. We were at a party, and I guess her boyfriend got drunk and told someone that he thought I was hot. I didn't even hear it firsthand, but Jess did. She pulled me aside and basically accused me of leading him on. I was completely caught off guard. Like, what? I've barely spoken to him outside of when we were all together, but she kept going, saying I was always being too friendly, that I was acting like a pick-me around him. I didn't even know what to say. I wasn't flirting. I wasn't doing anything. I literally went out of my way to avoid being weird around them. Now she's barely talking to me, and I don't even know if we're still friends. Was I really wrong for this? No, and you probably don't want to be friends with her, because that's kind of crazy that she's blaming you and not blaming her boyfriend. And it always bothers me when, and obviously she deep down knows that it's her boyfriend's issue, but it really bothers me when, why are you mad at your friend for this? Why are you mad at your friend? You should be pissed at your boyfriend and you should break up with him and give your friend a break. Why is it her fault? One of the comments says, you sound super mature and reasonable, and I think you have the right idea. It's this toxic trait that developed in women due to the patriarchy always pitting us up against each other. We go after the woman who is just existing and being hot instead of the boyfriend for being a creep. I'm not sure she's your friend, and she's way too insecure. It's not on you to solve that. OP said, appreciate that, and yeah, it's not my job to fix her insecurities. And then another person said, your friend sounds insecure and her problem is with her boyfriend, but she would rather attack you than hold him accountable. You don't deserve this. If you want to stay friends, give her space till they inevitably break up and she'll seek you out, hopefully to apologize. OP said, yeah, that's what it feels like. It sucks because I never did anything, but I guess it's just easier for her to blame me than deal with him. I might just back off for now and see what happens. Okay, there's an update. This is the next day. So I ended up talking to my friend about what happened, and honestly, I don't know how to feel. I asked her if everything was okay and why she called me a pick-me when she knows that's not the type of person that I am. At first, she kind of just brushed it off like it was nothing. But when I told her it actually hurt my feelings, she just sighed and said, I don't know. I just felt like you were eating up the attention. I told her straight up that I never encouraged her boyfriend, and I even tried to distance myself when I noticed how he was acting. She got quiet for a second and then said, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have said that. But instead of apologizing, she just shifted the conversation to how their relationship has been rocky lately and how she's been feeling insecure. I get that. I really do. But I still don't think it was fair for her to take it out on me. I told her that and she kind of just nodded and changed the subject. So, no real apology, no accountability, just moving on like it didn't happen. I don't know if I should keep this friendship the same after this. It just doesn't sit right with me that she'd rather turn on me than deal with the real issue, which is her boyfriend. I think I'm going to take some space and see if she reaches out again. But right now, I don't feel like putting more effort into something that doesn't feel mutual. No, yeah, for sure, girl. I don't think that you should be friends with her. This girl is not a nice girl. She's blaming all of her relationship problems on you. And I get that you feel insecure, and I'm sorry about that. But that doesn't mean that you let it out on your friend and you blame your friend for it. The top comment says, yeah, there isn't a point to stay friends with this kind of person, and I don't see it benefiting anything. Xandru responded to that and said, I detest people who don't take responsibility for their actions and word. And then Manky Toes commented that and said, well, one commenter advised it's actually all the patriarchy's fault. And Gay Straight is Best said, patriarchy is an explanation for why those women are conditioned to act that way, not an excuse for the behavior. Much the same way one can speculate that a culture of patriarchy may have influenced a man to feel more comfortable graping a woman. It's not a justification or an excuse to point out that society impacts people's decisions. LMAO. T Sissy, thank you for that, because no one could have worded that better than you just did. Like, obviously, it's the friend's fault, but what is a big reason that she thinks that that's okay is because of the patriarchy and what society deems as normal. And that's to pit women against each other, because it's always pitting women against each other. Everyone wants to see the drama, which I can admit that I have taken part in doing that, and I don't think that it's okay, but I've done it.
Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support.
The title of the next story is, I helped my ex through chemo, and now he's engaged to the nurse he met during treatment. When my ex was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma last year, he had no one. His family is out of state, and he's always been a bit of a loner. Despite being broken up for almost 2 years, I stepped up. I sat through every chemo session, held his hair back when he vomited. I fought with insurance companies, cooked meals, cleaned his apartment, helped him shower when his hands were too shaky to grip the soap. I wasn't doing it to win him back. I genuinely just loved him as a person. We had ended on decent terms, and I wanted him to live. He got better, thank God. But as soon as the PET scan came back clean, it's like I disappeared from his world. No slow fade, no thanks for being there, just silence. And then last week, a mutual friend told me that he's engaged to one of the oncology nurses. Apparently, they started talking towards the end of his treatment. He proposed last month. She posted the ring on Instagram, and I guess I just didn't make the cut for the announcement. I don't know what hurts more, that I meant so little or that he meant so much. I don't want him back. I just want it to matter. That's actually really sad. I mean, to not even just like stay friends after someone does all of that for you, if she was like, oh, I wanted to win him back, then I'd be like, okay, well, you can't really expect something back from that, like when you're the one that is deciding to help him. But for him to just be completely like, okay, well, I'm good now, so bye, I don't need your help anymore, is definitely messed up. And I would feel very hurt by that. The top comment says, damn, not even a thank you after all that. It's weird that he cut you off so abruptly and didn't let you know he was engaged. I don't know if you have each other on social media. I mean, you tell your friends if you're getting married. I think maybe it's because he thought you'd take issue with the fact he's now with someone who treated him, or perhaps he thought you still had feelings for him and figured it was best to keep your lives separate. People are saying you shouldn't expect anything and move on, but as someone with a chronic illness, I always remember who supported me, and I'm grateful for it. It's just common decency. I get that. I mean, I get like, helping someone out of the kindness of your heart and not expecting anything back. But I don't even think that I don't think she's expecting a thank you or even like anything. I don't think she's expecting him to be so grateful for everything that she did. I think she's just expecting for him to not throw her away like a piece of trash and cut her off like she meant nothing. I think maybe just a continued friendship is what she's looking for, which I think that's a normal expectation to have. This person said, thank you, OP, for having the kindness to be giving even to someone who is no longer truly in your life. I'm sorry he used you. You seem like a good person, and I know it's hard to grasp, but some people are just selfish. You did nothing wrong, and someone will appreciate how loving you are. Sending hugs. I wonder if she's reached out to him and been like, hey, I just wanted to let you know. Because if this were me, I think that they are probably pretty close. I would reach out to him and be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, it hurt me that you completely cut me off after this, and I get that you're probably not thinking about me because you were just going through something very, very serious and possibly going to die because of it. So like, I understand that, you're living your life now and you're trying to cherish every moment of it, because I'm sure that's what he's doing, and I'm sure that he's not intentionally like hurting her, but I do think that it is like a little bit rude to forget like who was there for you in the moments when you needed someone the most and you didn't have anyone. And I would want to keep someone like that in my life. If this girl came into my life, even though we were broken up for 2 years, and like she came and she helped me with all these appointments, she was holding my hair back when I was throwing up, like, you better bet I would want to keep someone like that in my life. Are you kidding? The title of the next story is, this girl from high school used to make fun of my body, and now I have a fat baby. So I used to have this friend in high school who was a curvy girl, while I was generally more flat. I was a late bloomer, and this friend frequently made comments about my flatness. Eventually, I developed a crush on a boy, and he clearly reciprocated the same feelings. He would bring my favorite candies and write me sweet notes, all that gooey shit. Well, this same friend of mine decided that she liked him, and she would make comments like, why would anyone want you when they could have this, and runs her hand down her body. Eventually, she straight up asked me to give him to her, so in a failed attempt to avoid drama, I just dropped him. Yes, I recognize that was an unkind thing to do, but I was not very emotionally intelligent, and my self-esteem was in the ground. My friends soon started flirting with him, but he didn't like her back. I think the rejection made her upset, so she began making even more degrading comments towards me. At one point, I very vividly remember her saying that my future baby would starve to death because I was so flat. Well, here I am a decade later, and these memories came flooding back to me. Why, you ask? Because I currently have my 21-pound, 6-month-old boob barnacle feeding himself to sleep while he repetitively squishes my boob like a stress ball. This kid is in the 90th percentile and looks like he should be carrying me. Anyways, life is good. My baby is fat. I've got nice titties. And that curvy girl ended up getting cheated on by her baby daddy and is now a single mom. Karma's a bitch. I feel like maybe, honestly, I don't know. I don't think that it gives you an excuse to be rude to someone or to make fun of someone, but it sounds like she might have actually been insecure in her own body or with herself, so she was projecting that onto you and trying to make you insecure. I feel like that's usually how it goes, and that's what it sounds like to me, because no one brings themselves up and like compares you that much and is that rude and degrading to someone if they're not insecure in themselves. And usually it just mirrors onto whoever is gonna take it, and clearly she was a very easy person and a very easy target to give that harassment to. The top comment says, awful people make awful choices in life. Rather than karma, it is the natural flow of things. And then someone said, what happened to the boy though? Did you end up with him? OP said, I did not end up with him. This little relationship lasted hardly a few weeks if memory serves me right. I'm definitely crushing on my husband though. He's a pretty rad guy. Khan commented and said, how the times change. When I was in high school, the attractiveness standard was very thin, like size 00. My mom was that size, diagnosed anorexic, and the clerk was jealous that she was that tiny when I bought her jeans for Christmas. That's how it was in my time, too. In my town, especially, and my school, yeah, it was definitely like you people wanted to be skinny, skinny, skinny. And that's why I had an eating disorder developed in about 8th grade. Thank you very much. This person said, I've always been fat and got bullied a lot in middle school and high school, partially because of that. One of my biggest bullies, who was more conventionally attractive than I was, ended up winning the Miss My Country pageant and got violently bullied on the internet regarding her appearance. Karma is indeed a bitch. See, the thing is, though, no matter what someone does or no matter what someone makes fun of me for, if you're getting bullied on the internet or anywhere for being like ugly, or you're getting your appearance, if someone is making fun, or a bunch of people are piling and dogpiling on and making fun of your appearance, I'm not gonna take pride in that. I actually feel really bad, because just what I said, I personally believe that usually the person that's making fun of other people or constantly putting someone else down and going out of their way to do so, either to you or behind your back, is usually a very insecure person. And personally, I feel bad for that person. And I feel like they just have a lot of inner work to do, which unfortunately sometimes doesn't happen, and they stay a bully forever, which obviously, like, that's shitty of them and they're a shitty person. But I would never be like happy if someone was getting made fun of to the point of like no return. But maybe that's just because I've seen so much bullying happen, especially in high school and middle school. Oh my God. So I would never wish that on my worst enemy. But to each their own, you know. Some people have been through really bad situations with bullies where I understand wishing the worst on them. But that's the end of this True Off My Chest episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what theme you guys like best so that I can know if what I should do more of, because that always helps. But I love you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, morning, afternoon. I love you guys. Again, why do I say I love you guys like 20 times? But seriously, love you guys. Bye. See ya.
My merch is out. Yeah, but this is it. And this comes in pink, black, and white. If you want to get a little cute piece of merch, go grab one. Link is in the description to purchase.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.